That's our meal today. James's is a little bit different. He has gravy on his potatoes and mashy peas, whereas I have the dill sauce
Yeah.
and feta. And James's was going to be a very fancy meal, but Annafrid took the sandwich off of the corner of this plate. And it really is impressive that she managed to get it out of there, because it was underneath those tomatoes, understand?
She left the tomatoes.
She left the tomatoes. She managed to not knock those on the ground. So
she looks so big and presumably
snuck that right out.
Oh, Annafrid. She has a way of talking with people. She'll look you in the eye if she says yes. She'll look away if she means no.
Well, you got to get out of there. You want to be food?
In the wake of this sandwich stealing, I asked her if she was bad or if she'd been bad. Yes. I asked her if she stole some food off of my plate. Yes. I asked her if I was mad at her. She said yes, and I wasn't as near that mad, but annoyed.
Well,
and then I asked her if Pauline was mad at her. No.
Oh, I'm mad.
She's really fooling herself.
She got some. I gave her some. Yeah. I gave all the dogs some while I was making it.
Yeah.
And you know, the thing is I've been cooking. I've been washing vegetables and cooking
for a long time.
For like an hour.
Yeah.
You know, and I want to sit down and have a nice meal.
Not stressful. No. I mean, it's nice weather out here. It's a little cool, but it's great for seeing that it's September and stuff like that. It was fairly warm yesterday, so a little bit of a carryover today, even though there are clear skies. The crow is enjoying it. Up in the he likes perching way up in the remaining spruce tree. It's nice and spruce up there usually.
Yeah. Well, they used to have nest up there, but now there's just one crow. The other one must have died.
Oh, so maybe he was flirting with you when you were hanging that stuff up in the tree.
There's only one crow and one tree.
Yeah.
There used to be two crows in
the
nest.
He sounds like a tough guy. I think he'll pick up some sort of or they mate for life. I don't know the way it works out. Anyway, you know, he had a phenomenal nest there. You know, my dad's 98 and a half. I don't think he's going to have another significant other. Although, I don't know if I mentioned the seniors home where he's at. I mean, he's basically confined to bed. He might get up to the point where he'll, supervised, he'll get out and walk. I mean, when I was there, he'd been laid up in bed for a while. He had a lot of trouble with his leg.
Well, he'd be doing crossword puzzles or something.
Oh, yeah, he had crossword puzzles there, and maybe Sudokus, I can't remember. Oh, it's the word find things. Oh, Sudokus might be a little bit beyond his. I was really happy.
No, they're very easy.
Okay, beyond his capability. So, I was really happy to see the crosswords there. Word finds are easy as pie. Yeah. So, but still, you know, like he's able to do that sort of stuff. He's still pretty crackerjack, sharp. But he was, so there's a woman there who's kind of taking a fancy to him. One time he woke up and she was, they have separate rooms. She was in there in the room sitting next to him, not in the room next to him, but sitting in the room, in his own room, and she was stroking his hair. He's still got a pretty good head of hair. You know, like not many guys have a head of hair like that at that age. And then one other time, they'd got him up for some reason or another, maybe to go to the washroom, I'm not sure what. And they get back, and she's in the bed, his bed, waiting for him. That was incredible. So, and apparently she's not much, I don't know what's wrong with her, but not much older than I am, you know, and I'm 31 years younger than.
People can have dementia at all.
Exactly right. So, now understand, my dad doesn't have dementia, but I suppose there's some people there with dementia, and that's why my dad's really sharp. I mean, I was telling him about a couple of people who've been telling me, their teachers, that they're sharper than then it's sharper than grad school people who are in grad school studying Islam, or people who are in actually professors in a couple of other religions, that they're sharper because they teach people of those religions. So I was asking my dad, what do you think of that? You're a teacher, long-time teacher. You would have taught Anglicans. What do you know about Anglican? Nothing. He was laughing. And what do you know about, you would have taught Presbyterians. What do you know about Presbyterianism? He laughed. Nothing. He saw right through that. And one of my respondents was a university instructor with a PhD. Fooled himself that badly. The other was a teacher, I don't know what level, maybe middle school. I am told elementary. I'm going to be charitable. But he was just laughing.
Junior high.
Yeah, she's done, and she might have taught high school at one point in time. It doesn't matter. It's this,
I mean, she was teaching
if she had
kids that were tougher to teach, that didn't want to.
Yeah, by time.
Didn't want to learn.
Yeah, exactly right.
I think that's what she was saying.
Anyway, I should be well advised to teach yourself. You know, it's heal thyself, physician. Teach thyself, teacher, about these various religions. You don't learn by talking. Someone once said, you don't learn by teaching unless you actually prepare on a particular topic. If a person's teaching English, they're really not, unless it's like some sort of work of non-fiction in some other language like Arabic or whatever. You're not going to learn about Islam.
I can see a little bit what they're saying about. I mean, they're making that mistake. You were talking about there's who said it now? The right-wingers don't understand Muslims, and the left-wingers don't understand Islam.
Yeah, exactly right. Yep. So they think that they cannot kind of understand Muslims.
Well, they think that by understanding Muslims, they're understanding Islam. That's the mistake.
And I don't think they really understand Muslims. I don't. Particularly if someone's teaching university students. A huge, big university. It's the second biggest university in Canada. A lot of it's online courses. Really, here's the deal. I kind of believe in online courses for any number of reasons. You shouldn't even know a person's name.
Mm-hmm. Definitely not.
Especially when it's something like English. It's going to affect the way you mark.
And
especially
honestly,
when it's essay stuff.
There shouldn't be essay questions. Because people from different cultures will write a certain way.
Well,
it might show through.
I think people are going to maintain something, about this, that, or the other thing. So, So this one university prof was asking me a while back, not that far back, so what does, which culture does this come from? I was reluctant. I didn't want to make a fuss about it, but I was reluctant to tell him. It's really not his business. Now, he's actually not going to hammer on this person because of their I told them, basically means faith. And so it means, it's a feminine of, faithful. I didn't know what the last name meant, Asan. I'm not good enough with my Arabic. Not nearly good enough, not as much as I'd like to be. But I really shouldn't have told them. because is it going to? But I was figuring he's not going to hammer for her. He's if anything going to be favorable to her. I'm afraid because she's a person of color. Although there's no guarantee. Her ancestry might be Albanian. They're just as colorful, I suppose, as or someone from Turkey, but I guess they wouldn't qualify because they're European. Or it could be Bosnian. Basically, the Bosnians are related to the Serbs and Croatians. But they wouldn't qualify because they're...
Oh, corn.
What was that?
I dropped some corn on my lap.
Yeah.
It's like, what is that?
Because they're Europeans. Anyway, my dad had a great fun with that. It was wonderful to see him chuckling. He knew exactly, like he was kind of dismissatory of these people who were much younger than him.
Some hair caught on that tree.
Fooling themselves.
Anyway. So I found my notes
About?
from the post-American world.
Yeah. So this is...
James had meant to go through CD by CD and talk about it all because there's a lot of information in there.
But it was so depressing.
Yeah.
I couldn't put up with it.
He couldn't handle it anymore. So I'm just going to go over
Well,
it.
I'll be able to handle it in little bitty doses and stuff like that.
Maybe. So, now, first, I guess I have my notes here for the political brain, too, so, by Drew Weston, and that one's also, that's worth reading. Wow. So, partisan brain, 80% of the electorate are political partisans. Contradictions, neural network is activated. Conflict between data and desire, brain shuts down, distress to unpleasant realities. Once they reasoned false confusion, the brain not only shut down distress, but increased the reward center, acted like a drug-addicted brain to make them feel good about the conflict.
Yeah.
I really like the part about connecting the dots, abortion issues, activation of right hemisphere, anxiety, fear.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
that's what happens with it's not just with right-wingers. It's with the faux gauches. It's with the capitalist supporters. It's with the populists. They all think that way. This is the supporters of Bernie Sanders, the supporters of Donald Trump, the supporters of both Bushes. Oh, it's the commies too, and it's the. Did I leave anyone out? Anyway.
So anyway, the political parties. They know how to trigger things in your brain, right, to get you thinking a certain way, and
feeling more like
feeling, yeah.
Well,
and so you're really, they like to get you to be more like their puppets, right? So you should be aware of how your brain works, and at times doesn't, to give you information. Anyway, Post-American World by Fareed Zakaria.
He's a talking head for CNN and maybe other things as well.
Yeah, well, I really enjoyed listening to that audiobook. I have a hard time listening to nonfiction audiobooks because I have a hard time making notes while I'm listening. I don't know why, but while I'm watching things, I usually with the great courses, I prefer the video, and then I just click pause and I, whenever I need to, and write, constantly writing while I'm watching it, and it works out really well for me. But the audiobook's not so much. I have a hard time with that. But anyway, Rise of West, Technology, Science, etc., Rise of U.S. Dominance, Rise of the Rest, Richest Man is in Mexico. Zakaria, Al-Qaeda, Anti-Shiite Group, Malthus population grows at an exponential rate.
Let me just
do you
stress
want to talk
about
about the Mexico thing?
I want to talk about Al Qaeda.
Okay, well,
They are
I wanna talk
anti
about the Mexico.
everything else but Sunni. They're
Okay. But the richest man in Mexico thing, it's interesting. We were just listening to Greta What's-Her-Name on the radio.
Thunberg.
Addressing the British political, what do you call it? Anyway.
Parliament. Yeah, it's tough. It's early in the morning. And you got stressed out by Anna.
I got stressed out by Anna Fred. Gosh darn it. Anyway, she was talking about how it's, the fate of everyone else in the world, that we might not have a future because of a few people who wanted to make huge amounts of money, right? And the thing is it's not about the people who... There's always going to be people who want to exploit other people. But in a democracy, you have checks for that. And so seeing that the richest man is in Mexico should really trigger something in your brain. So, Greta, should you be addressing the British Parliament? I mean, really,
go and address some other parliaments too.
And
go have a little chat with the Chinese wherever they...
The problem is, even in democratic societies, people tend to vote for these aggressive politicians. They vote for aggressive people. You see pictures of Rachel Harder. What is that her name?
Yeah.
And
our misrepresentative.
She's a pretty woman. She's beautiful, in fact. And she makes herself look ugly in just about every picture because she's smiling, showing those bottom teeth, which is
aggression.
A very aggressive sign. And I imagine that her handlers have actually been encouraging that because they want her to look like she's tough enough to do a man's job, kind of thing. Because we've heard a lot of things about her. What was that beer thing or whatever?
Oh, they've
been trying to promote
aggressive
like
propagandists.
Guys,
aggressive propagandists advertising. This made it all the way down to the east. It was having big play down in Ontario, probably in the Toronto Star. What they were advertising, come out. Now we know her from the almost in person. It's pretty impersonal, but from the pancake breakfast. I think they actually had a pancake breakfast in the.
Well, you probably chatted her up a bit because you're.
I don't chat anyone up, but I had a little chat with her. One of these days, I'm going to ask her about what she was doing with this thing. Anyway, this was some other function. So this is during our Whoop Up Day. She does a pancake breakfast. I think they had one this.
They did have one this year.
No Whoop Up Days.
Yeah, they had it at
Come on out and share the COVID.
Grounds.
Was that where it was?
It was.
Yeah. Come out and get your shots, and before the shot takes, get some COVID, something like that, along with pancakes. Anyway, what they were advertising was within the last 5 years. A shindig. Guns and Guinness. So, it has alliteration. Yeah. So it was some aggressive propagandist who thought that up for her. So yeah, I'm used to seeing her in a cowboy hat, She looks like a rodeo queen,
She does.
No horse there. It's just the various handlers are horses' rear ends.
But anyway,
Guns and Guinness. Guns and Guinness don't mix for the better.
But when you're voting for aggressive people, whether they're the aggressive rulers or the aggressive propagandists, and honestly, I think it's worse for the aggressive propagandists in this regard. They don't care about you. They're going to sell you down the river as long as they can climb that corporate ladder, and they're very well aware of the revolving door between industry and government, and they want to set themselves up for a comfortable life not just the term where they're in office, but they want to make the most of that, so they can make a lot of connections where where the wealth will keep on trickling in for them. So
Yeah. Well, it's not trickle down economics for them.
no.
It's pouring up. That's
pouring
the way
into their pockets, really, and they don't respect passive people at all. So if you happen to be passive, go take the Myers-Briggs test. Find out if you're passive. If you're passive, they don't like you. They don't care. They think you're weak. They think that
you're there to be exploited.
Yeah, you're there to be exploited by them. So why are you voting for them? They will never serve your interests. Never. Anyway.
It doesn't matter if they're a populist, if they're a corporationist, or if they're religious leaders, or if they are the vanguard of the revolution or of the evolution. They're there to exploit you. And it's not necessarily for money, although for many it is. For the vanguards of the revolution, they'll eventually have their dachas and stuff like that. Their little cottages in the country and so on and so forth. But they're there to exploit you for the power. So, you'll get and the religious leaders. You get people say, well, like the Ayatollah lived on, like a really simple life. He must be an awesome critter. And no, he lived for the power and pushed people around.
So aggressive politicians, well, they're going to be corrupt. It's pretty much a given.
Well, what I've said about the Republicans in the United States and the formerly progressive conservatives, now officially the regressive conservatives.
That they legalize corruption.
Exactly right. They legalize corruption, and that's never enough. You look at these Republicans, they legalize what's been corrupt, what's been illegal, and then they're still doing stuff, Enron or whatever. This is after years of deregulation on the part of the Reagan administration and things like that. It's never enough for these flunkies.
Okay, so I have Confucianism, China, ahead right now, true. 56% of the land in China are of non-Han ethnicity.
But that's not the population. That is just the land, right?
Yeah. The Hindu population growing at 1.75 per year at Muslim, and Muslim pop is growing at 2.75 a year in
You'll notice I've been quoting that, and I've been quoting it accurately, except with the Muslim population in India, I've been underestimating slightly. I've been saying 2.7, not 2.74, 2.75.
That's what he had. Only 2 of the Muslim pops in the world are Arabic, and both of those are in Africa. Huh?
2 of the most populated?
2 of the Muslim populations, I guess, in the world
the
are
most
Arabic.
populated Arabic Muslim countries. So the only 2 of the how many? But at any rate, the most populous Muslim country is Indonesia. It's a long way away from the Arabs.
What I was writing down there,
and
that didn't make sense at all.
Then it would be, I think, Pakistan and Bangladesh, very close together, maybe 200 million. Indonesia might be 250 million now. Over 200 million for sure. The 4th most populous would be a non-Muslim country, but it would have roughly 200 million Muslims. That's India. Egypt, which is the most populous Arabic country, has over 100 million. Last time I checked, it would be significantly over that. But no, that much over that.
Oh,
I guess the other one might
here.
be the Sudan, but I'm not sure about that one.
Well, I was writing down something. I don't know he must have been saying something, and I wrote down the problem is that, and see, I do that while I'm talking too. I'll just start in on something, and James like, okay, where did this start? And I don't know where, probably on disc 2 somewhere. Problem is that idea makers are kept from owning their ideas. I mean, you have property, intellectual property and stuff like that, but who owns
Property
it?
rights,
It's
yeah.
not. Yeah, it's not the idea makers themselves.
Nope.
It's the aggressive personality types, the aggressive dictators, or whoever, whatever you want to call them, that end up buying the rights from the people who create them.
They won't even
And
buy
then
it. Not the
or,
ideas.
Yeah, or steal them. And then they own the property rights to the intellectual property, which is not right.
So an example of
should-
what Pauline was talking about. Oh, sorry, I thought.
Well, what I'm thinking is I realize that in a capitalist society, you got to have those aggressive. I mean, there has to be some sort of outlet for them. What are they going to do? Otherwise, they're causing some other sort of trouble.
Let them do mixed martial arts
I don't
and
know.
kill each other
But
off.
Really,
But
if they could say have the rent the property rights, say intellectual property rights for a certain period of time, say 3 years or something like that, whatever, is it, and then the ownership goes back to the person who actually created the idea or whatever. They shouldn't have that property right forever. It's insane how it is right now.
even if they develop it, they shouldn't have it for. It shouldn't be extended beyond that person's life. I mean,
No.
it's insane now in the United States. It's probably more than 75. Last time I checked, as I recall, it was 75 years. They're doing this for Disney, Disney property.
Yeah, ridiculous.
After Disney died, I think he died around 65. So has it run out? 65, that takes you 70. That should go until 2040, and then they'll extend it from there. I think it's 75, and I think Disney died somewhere around 65. Maybe a little bit later, maybe a little bit earlier. I think around 64, he was the 64, 65, somewhere he was the marshal for the Calgary Stampede Parade.
In university, an instructor told me you just repackage someone else's study in a new area. So that's what I was told. You don't come up with a new idea, you just rebrand it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's what's encouraged now.
Rehash
like
it, really.
fentanyl lollipops, right? Like the product's there, and then you stick it in some lollipops, which, gosh, that should have not been allowed.
Can I just...
People profiting off old ideas, someone else's old ideas. China fell behind because of Confucianism, because it discourages new ideas.
Exactly right. Now, before we move on, can we just talk about the patenting and copyright and stuff
you
like
betcha.
that?
Go ahead.
Because I want to give an example. Pauline was right. In a lot of cases, they will buy it, but it's on the cheap.
Yeah.
So Edison apparently had one guy who came up with many, if not most, of his ideas. And, he would have paid, by comparison with the amount of money the ideas were generating, a pittance to this guy. Another example is Steve Jobs, and who's that guy? Wozniak. Wozniak comes up with the idea. Jobs is just so that guy's a creative thinker in the Briggs-Meyer, a creative passive person, and then Jobs is the aggressive propagandist, and he's probably got some aggressive